I was using escapism that was disguised as connection.
I just could not build relationships with people.
People around me had to put a boot on their fucking neck.
Come out of a relationship and I'm as on my own as I've ever been.
I just feel, I suppose, like homeless, like spiritually homeless.
Life was like a snow globe, and then I had a child, and like someone violently shook my world.
There's a real regret. It's usually me that gets let down because he knows that he can let me down and I'll still be there.
I shouldn't be ashamed of the fact.
We might touch on difficult subjects.
The household environment when I was young was a scary place to be. My legs would literally be shaking.
The core source of all of my trauma.
It's a head fuck.
All emotion is welcome.
I got a call saying that it passed away.
I'm just angry.
I need something raw and something real.
It's a chance to practice self-development.
What percentage of you as a cake is your dad?
Working on ourselves as men together in that supportive and challenging nature. We get to call each other out.
Nah, you know what, I think that's fucking bullshit.
I was lost.
If emotion comes up, then this is a space where it can be held.
And that moment was the moment where my life went in a completely different direction.
So tonight we have Jordan Stevens, Jeff Brazier, Tom Stroud, Adam Lint and David Chambers coming together to experience a men's circle, which most of you probably won't know what it is, and that's the whole reason why we're doing it. It's a chance for men to practice self-development, work on themselves, to get some really decent male role modeling that God knows we need. We don't really know how it's gonna go. This is a bit of an experiment. Let's see. Welcome guys. Thanks for choosing to do the work that's normally in a private room out in the open so that other people can see it. So I'm Pasco. I am the founder of an organization called Men's Circle, and this is what I live and breathe. I think I've facilitated almost 1,000 circles now. We run these online, we run these in person. Our whole mission is about mainstreaming these spaces, and so the idea of recording this is to show more men what it's about. Working on ourselves as men together in that supportive and challenging nature. We get to call each other out, we get to love and care for each other, we get to encourage self-care and self-love. And in that way, we get to show up more fully to our relationships and to our community. We'll have some agreements. Usually confidentiality would be one of those, but obviously not today. First of all, showing up sober. Doing this work, we're being present with each other. Next one is we're not interrupting each other. We're allowing each man to speak. We're agreeing to practice non-judgment, really being tolerant to the differences in the circle. We're agreeing that all emotion is welcome. So sometimes we might touch on difficult subjects. It's an invitation to feel that if emotion comes up, then this is a space where it can be held. And then finally, we are agreeing not to fix or solve each other's lives. Allow the man to become the man that they want to be and work it out for themselves and be empowered in that way. We happy with those?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to lead a centering exercise now. If we're able to soften our body a little bit and relax, we're a little more psychologically prepared to go to those harder to reach places. Close your eyes if you're happy to. So we're going to do a very simple breathing exercise. We're going to breathe in for 4, we're going to hold for 7, and we're going to breathe out for 8. Starting to come back to your other senses. So hopefully we're a little more relaxed, a little more prepared, a little more in the space and arrive. So we're going to check in. You say your name, a score out of 10. So how are you out of 10? 10 being sky high, ecstatic, 0 being rock bottom. And then to follow that score, give 3 words to give us a bit more flavor. And then we're going to extend on one of those words. So I'm Pasco Ashton. I'm probably a 9 right now. Not often I get to say that. Feeling buzzy, alive, kind of surreal. Surreal because I've imagined this moment for a long time. It's now here in fruition and I'm living it. David.
I'm about 6.5. I'm feeling stretched, excited, and actually a bit sleepy, stretched. My life feels like it's like pulling me in multiple different directions. Reminds me of, in the Fantastic Four, the stretchy man, when he gets when he gets pulled, and I'm feeling like that a lot, and it feels scary as well. So sometimes it feels like I'm going to snap and break.
My name's Tom Stroud. I'd say I'm about a 5 today. Distracted, directionless, but also excited. Distracted is the one that I'd like to speak a little bit about because, I feel like this is a huge opportunity and one that I'm very, very privileged to have. I don't feel like at this point, with everything going on in my life, I've really been able to commit enough time or headspace to it.
My name's Jordan Stevens. I'm an 8 out of 10, I'd say. I'm actually having a bit of a tough time at the moment, but the 8 is because relative to like my rest of my life, I at least don't feel like I'm about to disappear. I feel like I've got the tools to deal with it. But the words I'd use to describe that kind of paradox of feeling ultimately good is trapped, maybe trippy, trapped, trippy, and tenacious as well. I guess tenacious I'll talk about because I have an idea for a new book, and I'm very excited about it, and I think about it a lot.
Amazing, thank you. So I'm Jeff Brazier. I'm going to give it a 5 today. The 3 things that I feel today are the fact that I can't think of any means that I'm sort of slightly blocked for some reason. So blocked, conflicted, and unsettled. Conflicted, although that almost merges into unsettled as well, just because there's so much change in life. And I'm good with change, I'm adaptable. I've had to be, and I've always sort of prided myself on being someone that is sort of up and at 'em, and I find a way. But there's something about becoming a grandparent and the sort of the vulnerability of this child, and also knowing that it's my son who has gone through a lot himself over the last 6 years, if not 9 really. I'm really mindful of my energy that I'm bringing to this absolute miracle, and one of the most sort of joyous times in my life to see my granddaughter. It's just been unbelievable, the joy, but also the concern that sort of comes with that. And I don't think it's always helpful to bring a negative sort of energy to something that is working, it's functioning, it's fine. It's never going to be a perfect scenario. It rarely ever is, actually. It certainly wasn't for me bringing up my children those years ago. I need to reflect and just sort of land with what it is to be a grandparent, what it is to support my son and his partner.
Thank you.
My name is Adam Lind. I would say I'm a 6 out of 10. Frustrated, grateful, existential, a usual feeling for me and has been for many, many years. I think I'm going to go with the frustrated one for now though, because I feel like I'm finding myself in some thought patterns and places that I've been so many fucking times before, and I see the path to get there so clearly, and this idea of knowing exactly what I need to do or could be doing or should be doing, and I'm so good at talking about it and I'm so good at advising others on it, and then I still end up in the same place again and again and again. But enjoy the existentialism of then just reminding myself that we're on a spinning ball, so what you gonna do?
We're going to get into our longer shares now. We're going to have about 10 minutes each. I'll let you know when you've got 3 minutes left. And that's where, if you want to, you can take feedback from the other men. You might find actually you don't want any feedback, that's okay too. The question, as I said, that we're going to explore is, what are you working on? Could be anything. Anyone want to?
Just like catch the vibe.
Yeah, does anyone feel inspired to go?
I could go. I guess I'm going. Okay, what am I working on? I got a few things that are coming up. One part which I feel like is quite fitting to now is I feel like I've been working on my masculinity. I grew up with an alcoholic father, and he kind of left when I was 3, so I was raised by my mother and my sister, who are like extremely emotional, and it's like a superpower. Vulnerability is like my superpower. I've always been really easy to connect with people, take on other people's emotions. I can cry at the drop of a hat. I feel so deeply, and it's always been such a gift. It means I feel like I love people, I love human connection. My therapist was saying about me stepping into my masculinity more, and I kind of got my back up a bit, and I was like, I don't want to change who I am. Like, I don't want to change as a person. And what she's trying to teach me, particularly in the context of my marriage as well, because I've been with my wife for 12 years, we met when we were 19. So like the journey of then to now, we've changed. I think we've gone through like 3 life cycles individually in that 12 years. I've always prided myself on being really free-flowing, don't really get angry. It takes a lot for me to like get annoyed about things. What I'm trying to do is actually my masculinity can just be like making a decision and that decision being okay. Doesn't mean I have to be more manly, it doesn't mean I have to be more assertive. But I really struggle with that because like for me just being in flow is like what I pride myself on, just being in touch with my emotions, and being in spaces like this I find really beautiful, but yeah, in some ways quite intimidating because I feel like I'm that guy that's not the one struggling to show my emotions. If anything, I'm trying to like rein them in. So I've got this whole masculinity piece I'm trying to do, and part of that is actually spend more time with male friends and peers because I gravitate to women so much easier, and I have my whole life had this whole complex of being like, a straight guy that had loads of platonic female friendships and not knowing where to sit within that. Accused of all things, whether that be like, he must be gay or he must be sleeping with these women. I was like, no, they're just humans to me. Like, and some of them have become more than a friend and some of them haven't. There's always been a really clear line. But it's been like difficult to be a man for me with a really feminine energy, let's say. And the second piece I'd say I'm working with is, what the fuck am I doing all of this for? And by all of this, I mean, quote unquote, like success. I spent a lot of my life really, I guess, off grid. And I used to be very hedonistic. I got into the rave scene really early, was just destroying my mind and my body for many years. I was using escapism that was disguised as connection, having these deep, deep connections with people, making all these plans and arrangements, then see them in the street the next week and just like turn my head because I didn't actually want to connect with them. And I was like, I need something raw and something real. So my wife and I did this trip where we tried to hitchhike from London to India, and it took 5 years. And it was the happiest I've ever been. We took like 1,000 car rides with strangers. I was so purely happy. We had no money, just had our tent, and was meeting people from all cultures, all walks of life. And to me, it was like true happiness. But I was lost, like I felt I wasn't rooted. So I came back to the UK and we bought this boat, and I just started posting about it for fun with friends, and then built this Instagram channel, and long story short, became successful. And you know, it's like I feel bad for not being as grateful as I should be. Like, I'll meet friends and they'll be like, mate, you're smashing it. Like, you've wrote a book and you've done this. And I'm like, I don't want to say empty because I feel a lot, but I feel, what am I doing it for if it's just for success or money or, you know, status, when I know I've been so much happier in life when I was doing so much less. But then I feel like maybe was the lesson to learn all of that and become, I don't want to call it a messenger because that sounds a bit narcissistic, but like to share my experiences to maybe help others in some way. I did a thing last year where me and a guy I'd never met before, we walked from Birmingham to London over 8 days, and we weren't allowed to spend any money. We just had a bag. We called it a human kindness experiment. And those 8 days felt like the closest I've felt to being happy since I did this travel stint 5 years ago. And I felt like, I don't know, I felt like, oh, this is what living actually feels like. Like all the stuff that I thought was been so good actually is, like, it's good. Like, I like my life, you know, I can like go for lunch when I want, and I work for myself, and I'm not tied to a job, and all the things that people, my friends around me, are like, how are you not satisfied? You know, like, go to this fancy gym, go to saunas twice a week, you know, play paddle when you want, whatever you're out there doing. And I'm like, I don't know, I felt happier walking 15 miles a day with this guy I'd never met. And what I think it is surrendering. Like, I believe in the law of attraction so deeply when I became really spiritual. And then I felt like when I became more rigid, I was like, maybe I was just a hippie back then. Like, maybe it was all a bit woo-woo, and like I was growing up and I didn't get it. And then when I was back on this walk, and all we had to do each day was walk, like, when I say everything would just happen like magic. And just this paradox, I feel like, has been plaguing me. Too much freedom made me feel trapped, but then too much structure made me feel not free. And I feel like I'm at this point now where I'm about to go on this great journey to build this new home, which I'm very grateful for, of course, never something I imagined I would do, even though that home will be nomadic. But this desire to just pack a bag and go. And also, like, in the context of my relationship, my wife is still very much the same person she was then. If I said, let's pack a bag and go, we'd be gone. And for her to have to watch me be like, oh, I can't do that, I've got an event, or I can't do that, I'm on a podcast. And she's a bit like, who is this guy? Like, this isn't the guy that we used to kind of vibe with, who just wanted to wake up and write a poem and sit in a tree. Yeah, I could go on and on, but maybe I'll stop, if any of that word vomit made sense.
Absolutely, thank you. Do you feel like you're caught in between two identities?
I'm caught about 17 identities, to be honest. And then it's like, who am I really when it all goes, you know? Like, even when I'm on my own, I feel like I'm not showing up the way I know I could be. Like, you know, I know, like, no phone for an hour in the morning used to be a non-negotiable, made me feel so good. So why for the last 5 months do I wake up and grab my phone? It's like, I know it, but it's like, I'm not embodying it the way I once was.
You mentioned that in your younger years that, like, raving and connection were a force of escapism. And then you talk about this kind of walk that you did, and then this 5 years of hitchhiking. For you, is happiness escapism, actually?
Yeah, it's a question I've asked myself, like, am I just constantly avoiding something deep inside and constantly running? And I don't know if it's that, or if it's, when I lost my dad, I had this really strange, somewhat out-of-body experience where this light bulb of how fleeting and impermanent life is made me so desire to have as many experiences as I possibly can. And I just felt like that's always been my mission, experience as much as I can, which is difficult when you're in a marriage and have responsibilities, yet you want to experience the whole thing of life. But equally, yeah, I don't think I'm running away, because I do, well, twice a year I have this ritual. I go away for 4 days. In this, my therapist, she's got a hut on her land, she takes my phone, my laptop, and that's when I'm just like alone. And actually I feel really happy there. But yeah, I'm sure there is an element of escapism, because it's easier to just keep going, right, than, don't know, face it.
It's interesting that you said connection as escapism. Is that like a negative thing?
I think because the period of time I was talking about was often fueled by drugs. So it was like the...
Disconnected connection.
Yeah, it was like, I thought it was connection,
right,
but actually, in reflection, it was escapism. And I was craving that connection, not through the version of escapism, if that makes sense.
When you think of being in one place permanently, what comes up for you emotionally or even somatically?
Trapped.
An observation, I think that there was a few things you said that sounded like a desire underneath all of it, which was like, you really enjoy being on your own. There's something about like just fucking off and letting go of your expectations of anyone on you.
What's the prevalence of specifying desires? Is a desire a good thing to be aware of as a motivator? Yeah,
I mean, if I kind of generalise, a lot of men in these spaces share about wanting to be free and escape and run and have solitude.
Desire is important to follow. A desire is feeling, and sometimes we're not attuned to our desire because we're not attuned to our feeling. And sometimes we'll go and do things because we have a desire for something. Like, we'll go and get high because we have a desire to feel free or unburdened, but we don't realise we want to feel free and unburdened. We're just going to get high, so we could actually try other things that would free us and unburden us that aren't necessarily the narcotics. If we know, like, the desire is to feel free, we might go and sit in the forest, we might go camping. We don't necessarily need to go and get high.
Do you want to go next?
I mean, is it good to go next if you've just been like triggered?
Yeah, that's like exactly the right time to go.
Okay.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah. Hard to, I guess, squeeze it all in, but the reason why I think Adam's words resonated with me is because, in short, feeling my own version of the irritability, and it's happened a little bit by accident. Like a few things happened last year professionally, like I did my first play and it was like a domino effect. Like the stress of the play led me to go and seek out these, getting a massage every week, and then I was getting this massage from this woman at Third Space, and then from the massage I was realising that it was releasing a lot of emotion for me from this particular masseuse. And then being the way my mind works, that was like really fascinating to me. So I was like, whoa, how important is touch to me? Maybe I should keep being touched. Like, because my work now is men's work, again, not necessarily my choice, but just by extent of my career. And so I was like, wow, if I'm feeling this about being touched, maybe this is a form of therapy that could help other people. So I started looking more into touch, etc. But what this led to was this desire to go away. I went on a usual holiday, as I do with my partner most years, and that was really lovely, in Asia. And then at the same time, this interest in Buddhism arose for me, and this also ties into touch, and this also everything was kind of working like that, which it kind of ended up with me being on this island in Thailand, and it was this, I wasn't intending to escape. I didn't know what I was intending to escape actually, but I didn't know what I would feel. I thought there was every chance that I could be there and miss home. Well, I realised once I'd got there, I'd actually never ever been away on my own without going for work or without meeting someone directly. So this 4 days on this island, I was actually truly alone. I met people who had no idea who I was. And for me, one of my griefs in life is, the loss of anonymity. Recently, I've felt way more at peace with myself and really aligned. Like I wrote a book and people respect the book, and it's opened doors for me to talk about things I really care about. And that feeling is unreal compared to the brutality of like making music as a young man and all of the kind of, oh my God, pressure that came with that. But what I felt on this island was like, I hear that the thing with heroin is it's a massive pain relief, but the real reason why people become addicted, someone told me this, is that you realise how much pain you were in before you took the heroin. That's why you want to take it again. I've not taken it. When I was on this island, I was like in this place, everyone there was really free, hippie, naked, saunas, fucking swimming and shit. And no one knew me. And I was this me that wasn't part of a brand, or like it was like I'd taken off this bag, and I was like, whoa, I've just been carrying this fucking bag for like 10 years. And that freaked me out. Like it gave me like some kind of break almost, like, and I was like, I want to be in this space actually, where I can engage in life and not have to question like every interaction I'm having. Why is this person speaking to me? Like, is their idea of me extend beyond me? Like, it's not even based off of what I've said to them. Sometimes they have an idea of me that existed before we spoke. Similar to you, what do I miss at home? Outside of my obvious, the connections I have, my partner, my dogs, my friends. Like, could I have been there for a long time? If the honest answer is yes, I could have been there for a long, long time because I hadn't met that part of me. And I don't feel like I've been able to build a relationship with that part of me. And I think years ago, I might have got super heady about it and said, now I'm going to be a nomad forever. But I don't even think that. I think that I have a process I need to go on so that I can then reintegrate, which is something I know has to happen. But now I'm just angry because I'm back in UK. I've put the backpack back on. And I now feel like there's loads of shit that I'm getting told that I just don't agree with in terms of, even, this sounds silly, but even things, winter's good because you learn to deal with the cold and then the sun comes back. And I'm like, no, you know what, I think that's fucking bullshit. Like, I don't care about the fucking winter in England. Like, I want the sun. I want to be by the coast. I want to be on a scooter. And no, I don't think it is just me being loose and wanting to get away. Like, I think my body fucking loves that environment. And really and truly, the only reason why I don't think I can just exist in that environment is because of stories I've either been told or told myself about like what you're supposed to do. And like, you know, I get back into London and I'm charged to leave my house and arrive at a place. I've got to pay for parking, I might get a ticket, I get to pay to drive through London, I've got to pay to, like, I'm just getting charged through the teeth to exist, and I can survive. I feel very privileged. A lot of people around me, they've got the boot on their fucking neck, and it makes me sad. It makes me feel like a deep amount of like grief and irritability, and there's something out there that I just felt I'm more at peace with. I don't know if that's like the lack of wealth inequality or something like that. And I'm so happy to meet that point of now I need grounding. I need to meet that point. But it's been really hard coming back in because I do exist in a world where my influence can be positive and I do earn money, and I'm actually in a relationship that even further extends that branding because my partner is also successful, really successful. But it's just the fact that I know I'm wearing the backpack, man. Like it's really fucking weird, and it's messing with my head because I don't care about celebrity. I really don't, and I'm really just I really feel it in myself. I feel like I'm preparing myself basically for just leaving. Like unconsciously, I'm just preparing myself to just be like, what can I fit in a suitcase, you know? And it's tough. It's tough because yeah, it's at odds with a version of me. I have never felt really at home anywhere. A lot of people say I'm from Brighton because that's where the Rizzle Kicks music videos were. I was actually born in northwest London, raised in northwest London. I spent way more of my time in London than I have in Brighton, but because of my teen years and my fame, I'm tied to this place, which actually holds a lot of trauma for me. Similarly, because I abandoned my Londonness, I'm not from London. I'm not repping a postcode. And to the same extent, I don't even feel in alignment with this country, let alone the fucking postcode in London. So I just feel, I suppose, like homeless, like spiritually homeless. And away was the first time I met nomads. And I never knew that you could just be a nomad. And when somebody told me they were a nomad, I actually felt like at ease for the first time in ages, because I thought I shouldn't be ashamed of the fact that there's not a place that I would call home. So yeah.
I have a question. Can you tell us who Jordan is when he takes off the backpack?
Yeah, man, I just, when I took off the backpack, I suddenly felt like the things that harmed me when I was a kid, right? So that's like not having a stable, I didn't have two parents at home all the time, definitely didn't have a stable income, never had a mum's house to go to, never had a dad's house to go to. And because of that, I can go into rooms, spaces, I can create conversation. I can actually do, I have friends who can't do that, they're not even interested. But if I'm on a beach with people and they're all hitting a drum and I'm feeling it, I'll go and dance, and I'll go and chat to someone. I'll make a conversation, I'll buy them a drink. To just invert that, what I'd previously held as shame, that felt like more in keeping with, I was like, that's a tool of Jordan's, you know? And in that place, when I meet somebody, they're meeting me there. And that's wild. I can't explain, like it's an odd thing, man. You know, a lot of the time I was told never to complain about fame and whatever else because people are often drawn to the material aspect of it, the perks from it. But whenever I've done therapeutic stuff, it's very much recognised as a trauma, you know, for me to, because even if I was to meet someone in the street and they don't know who I am, I've gone through it so many times in the UK that I would assume that even if they don't think they know who I am, there's an unconscious, they've seen me on TikTok or like, there's been like a billboard up or something, you know? So actually speaking to a person, and then I'm learning more about myself from that interaction because it's just me now. It's a head fuck.
So how would you summarise what it is that you're working on in everything that you've told us there?
That was the question, wasn't it? I forgot because of you, what you said. I'm working on meeting that version of me and building a relationship with him and knowing that there's going to be an integration that takes place after when I can put the backpack on, but I can know I'm putting it on and I'm happy to do that. But I feel like I can't, or it'll be harder unless I just give myself that space to be free, or that's definitely the desire to be in flow without prevention.
I just had an observation around helping people in that desire, and you mentioned that you feel like this is the place to be able to do that. What defines success when it comes to helping people?
When I'm talking about touch,
yeah,
I just recognise that like I definitely I'm okay saying that I think my communication is a gift of mine or something I'm able to provide. I often see creatives as like, we'll like look at a path and sometimes it's like a swamp. Every now and again it's a meadow. So if it's a meadow, you got to go tell people and then they can all go see the meadow. But like, I just think I've got the tools to do that. That's really it. The touch thing is an ongoing work, and I do believe it's worth sharing with men.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
I think I'm sat here kind of almost second guessing what I would share, even though there is a million things, because I think I'm conflicted with the fact that I'm aware that I'm being videoed, and I'm aware, is that 1980s? And I'm being filmed. And a lot of what I would say I'm kind of have been wrapped up in quite a long time is my children and how they've been faring. Sometimes the story gets too ingrained. You know, I'm too connected with how they're doing or how I perceive they're doing. Because I guess as a dad, we're so connected with, like, if you're good, then that means I've done a good job. If you're not, then it means I haven't. Well, if you've got two and one's perceived to be doing one is the opposite. Are you a good dad or a bad dad? So I'd try and just sort of disconnect with it, because actually it's just really unhelpful. They're at an age now where really it's just about supporting. Neither of them are necessarily that easy to support, and that's the interesting sort of piece in all of this, is that I want to fix and be the solution, always kind of have done. I've always felt sorry for my kids because they lost their mum when they were 3 and 4. And I sort of stepped in to kind of just take them out of that. So I used the shield of positivity, that as an avoidant, as someone who had whatever experiences I had as a kid, that was my coping strategy. And it got us probably about 8 years in. I think that's where all the therapy started, because like, this is unsustainable. I'm literally not allowing myself to feel all of the negative emotions that come with supporting your children through their grief and everything else that lays unresolved within me, because I haven't yet started any of the work. So that's when I did start the work, and you lift the lid, and it obviously is never ending from there. And I've really enjoyed that journey. It's taken me sort of into so many different places with so many different types of therapists, and where I find myself at the moment is with men's work. But with men's work, I'd say that it's kind of really helped me to confront, I guess, issues with stepdad and the fact that the household environment when I was young was a scary place to be. And feelings were not really an option. It was about being quiet. It was about sort of not going noticed and not stirring anyone or anything. Actually, I've worked for TNT for like 9-10 years, and when I interview football managers like Mourinho and whoever else, I'm instantly teleported back to that stepfather-son relationship. I was so set on working through it, keep going, and getting all the therapy, and having this conversation all the time, and different exercises and different approaches to it, and I just didn't feel like it ever really sort of did anything about it. I'd be sitting watching the last 10 minutes of a game, and my legs would literally be shaking. I'd be wondering, like, does the floor manager, can he actually see that I am literally shaking at the prospect of knowing that I've got to go and ask the manager, who's probably under a lot of pressure and going to be sacked, about his job and how he felt the game went, and whether he got his tactics right, or whether he made subs at the right time, or any of these things that would be really confronting for him. I was so hyper aware of upsetting that person, and it just didn't obviously make me the obvious candidate for that role. But it's not to say that I can't pursue that and that I can't sort of break that down at some point, and that would always be my aim to. In terms of the work, I suppose it's someone, as I said, who wants to sort of fix and help, maybe one of my children need or want the help. So it's about just sort of establishing what is the right distance between me and their prerogatives and their right to make decisions that I might perceive to be sort of not the right ones. It really is about getting out of the way. I think I sussed that probably about 6 months to a year ago. It was the only thing I hadn't tried, actually. I'd sort of tried everything to support my youngest in particular, and where I landed was actually get out the fucking way, because there's something about where you're offering support. What does that energy suggest to them? It means that they're always in that role of needing help, and I'm constantly reinforcing that cycle by being there and doing more than you should. There's a real sort of regret maybe if I'm so proud of how I did, by the way, as a single dad to two lads, but I definitely did too much. And if I could take away that sentiment of the pressure that I put on myself to be all and everything, but also the fact that I'd gone around saying in the early stages, naive as it is, that I'm going to bring them through their childhood as relatively unscathed as possible. And it was such a naive statement, but you can only really sort of, with the tools that you have at the time, do your best. Now the granddaughters here, I don't really want to step away. They were meant to be arriving here, and we would go home together, and they would come back I live in the countryside, and I felt like you need a bit of fresh air, and for whatever reason, because my son sort of got himself in a situation where he'd kind of said yes to two different outcomes, it's usually me who gets, and this is where I think I felt a little bit sort of angry, it's usually me that gets let down because he knows that he can let me down and I'll still be there. So that's difficult to sit with. So moving on to it also coincides with splitting up with my wife of 12 years for over the last 5-6 months it's been now. And I'm getting to know myself in a way that I've not met myself before. So again, the way that I would come out of a relationship and the way that I might distract myself sort of elsewhere in order to not feel the discomfort. I'm no longer doing that. It doesn't feel right. I'm not called to do that. I'm called to sit in the shit and actually feel it and go through it. So I'm proud of myself for sitting and sort of doing that. And I think like I'm at a place where there's a lot of acceptance. I'm really amicable with my ex. We're really supportive of one another, and that feels good. I've relinquished the responsibility of being my children's solution all the time. So in that space, I've actually not only gone through the empty nesting element, I've also now come out of a relationship, and I'm as kind of on my own as I've ever been. I'm not alone because I've got a lot of wonderful people around me, but this is a really interesting time for me because I'm meeting myself in a certain way for the first time. And this granddad sort of like label is odd. It's fucking odd. It's like you're a granddad and it ages you 10 years, or at least it tries to, and I'm kind of just battling it. I swear my workouts have intensified slightly ever since. To the point where I just did a bit of content I've never done before. It was like, get dressed with granddad, because I've seen other people. And honestly, like I started off in my boxers and I was just like, let me just see what it's like. And I can always just completely chop it in the edit. I looked at it and I was like, gee, you look all right, mate. You look all right for a granddad. Get dressed with granddad. Like 1.2 million people were sort of having it. That's my demographic. The middle-aged women never let me down. But it was new, it was something new. It was like, I'm being a bit daring. It's just something I ever mentioned is like, I've always been so safe and small. I think everything childhood lent itself to just be, I've done 25 years in an industry where everyone's sort of grafting, lots of mouths to feed, not much food on the table sort of thing. But yeah, I've managed to sort of stay in and to adapt whilst also being small and safe. In order for me to just cope with the kids, let me do some work in this industry, but I don't want to do too much, and I don't care about what I'm earning necessarily, because as long as I'm present for them, that's something I got right. I really got that right. But now that I've sort of empty nested them, certainly now I'm out of a relationship, like I can expand into a space in whichever way I choose, and that's exciting. The granddaughter's fucking exciting. Giving myself permission to step back and let the boys sort themselves, that's exciting. It all kind of feels quite free. So I think the 5 earlier was on account of I was the one who got bombed out again. I'm too easy to let down, because I'm too cool with and too understanding. But there will always be a little part of me as a rejected, as a kid who ended up in foster care, that will always just pinch it. Yeah, I'll invite the questions, guys.
First of all, thank you. It was really interesting to hear you speak, and you can tell that you've obviously done and are doing the work. What excites you most about this new journey that you're embarking on?
I just think it's incredible how far you can go from where you began and whatever the sort of the negatives were, and how you can sort of build on these things and how much you can heal. And I believe that the work never ends, and I love the work, so that's good news for me. I only ever really want to be a good menu for my kids. Some bits they choose, the majority of it they don't. But actually, it's not about so much of being a menu for the kids anymore. It's about who do I want to be. And I've just recognised through all the lessons and all of the conversations like this and stuff that I'm becoming a person that is probably a really safe space, whether it's for kids, grandkids, whether it's for future partners or even my ex-partner. I can be safe, and I think to be a safe man, I don't know that that's talked about anywhere near enough, but it's something that I feel more proud of than anything else.
I love that. Very inspiring. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
The thing that comes to mind when I think about what I've been working on is emotional regulation. Like, I have a 2.5-year-old. She's an absolute delight and such a huge challenge, such a new dimension of life that I couldn't have imagined, really. You know, she'll go from being a princess, dressing up and telling me that she loves me, to screaming or hitting, not being able to handle her own emotions. It's been such a learning curve to be okay just being with her and helping her learn and navigate these big emotions. And I've just found it so hard to be okay with and to lean on my own breathing and just accept where she's at rather than try and control and change. And it's one thing doing it in the daytime, you know, when it happens in the night, it's a whole nother ball game. She's at this stage where she wants one of us, so she'll want my partner Amy for one moment, and then she'll just absolutely then want me, and there's sort of no in between. She's learning where she can navigate us psychologically to get what she wants, and we're having to learn where to put boundaries up and when to say no. It reflects on my relationship with emotions, I think. I still find it hard to access like my deep sadness, like being able to cry. So much of my school conditioning and teenagehood was so much about that part of myself being rejected over and over again. You know, that's not okay. That's not okay. Only in the most sort of fragile moments of tiredness or high levels of stress have I actually been able to kind of crack through my armor or my conditioning and my suppression to allow that kind of cathartic release to come out. What I think's helped me through that is allowing and giving permission for my anger. Like, I've really found that as a massive gateway. Just allowing rage to come up and giving myself a physical space to roar and rage and swear and allow whatever needs to be said and whatever needs to be felt to come up. You know, I do it in the car, right? I'll drive to somewhere in the countryside and give myself that little safe box. Beyond that, once I let it all go and get it all out and self-regulate and just all of that frustration like leaves my body, I'm left then with this like this fragile, you know, boy, I guess, underneath all of that. And that's been my learning edge, getting closer to that, because I want to be able to cry, you know? There have been so many other moments where I'm almost like in my head, like I should be crying now. But like, you know, just like, is there anything in there? I concern myself with not showing up in a way that is like how I should be. I don't know. I feel it down there, but it's not coming out and I'm not getting that release. I want that. Yeah, I think I'm ready for anyone to chip in.
What is it about the emoting of what you perceive to be in there but without an exit at the moment? What is it about that you want to meet?
It feels like part of the human experience, you know, and it's almost like it's in this really tight box that's jammed up, that every now and again there's a kind of inch of the tap that gets let out, and then it kind of seems to get compressed back in. I think there's the cathartic embodied part that like I crave, but actually like it's also just I want to feel that sadness. Like I want to feel safe enough in my own skin to go there.
What dictates when these things happen, and if they happen?
Crying.
The emotion that you're seeking.
It's funny because I cry really easily at happy things. I don't know. Maybe I actually haven't figured out what that sadness is yet.
After you've had the big rage, catharsis, what does your little boy feel and experience?
It's just left with this kind of rawness, like there's kind of depleted in energy, and then I think there's a loneliness to that space as well. I think, like, fuck, I've got to do this on my own. Like, really.
Do you think that putting pressure is making it more difficult?
Yeah, probably.
I thought we were talking about the goal is to show emotion through tears, but then you've said that you're actually crying happy tears. Is it possible that we can be specific about the type of tears that we want to experience? You have the ability because you've sort of demonstrated that.
Maybe. Feels like there's a barrier between me and actually feeling sad. And like, clinical psychologists might be like, that's great, you're not feeling sad. Or someone might say that, but actually there's this suppressed part of me that I'd like to kind of move through. Because I've been there, I guess. I have in these moments of facilitated work and pair work, or where I've felt that I've been in the grief, Yeah. That's my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go on, I'll go. What am I working on? I feel like life was like a snow globe before. It's all settled and it's all chill and you're like, that looks nice. And then I had a child and like someone violently shook my world, and they keep violently shaking my world. I feel like as a man, like I've regressed into some patterns that make me feel quite a lot of shame. Some attachment patterns and emotional patterns that I've regressed into in my life, of like shutting down, of not talking, of not expressing how I feel and keeping things to myself, have been really difficult in the last really 9 months to a year. There's like a cyclical experience, because then I see myself doing it and then I feel a bit ashamed about it, and then I kind of want to hide it, and I don't want people to see that I'm feeling really low, but I'm not telling anybody. And I might let it leak out here or there with other people, but my partner sees it, like she knows how I'm feeling. I'm also working on my business, so that my business can be big enough that it's like supporting my family, because this instinct after my little boy was born to provide like hit me like there was nothing else. Always like a dream of like, yeah, we'll have kids and I'd like to provide, but there's a moment after you have a child, or you're told you're having a child, and you're like, oh my God, we're pregnant. And there's like this joy and euphoria, and very quickly after that feeling of joy and euphoria was like, holy shit, like, have we got the structures in place? Where are we going to live? Are we making enough money? What's going to happen when she's on maternity leave? And I feel that feeling hasn't really like disappeared, and it feels like it's seeped into me in a way that I'm just almost always on the edge of dysregulation and feeling stressed and worried, while also trying to grow a business, be a decent partner, raise a confident, attuned young boy. And it's like, just like really stretching. When I did Vipassana, I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat, and then my mind is taken back to like how I felt afterwards. I felt this like deep peace and ease and slowness. And then I kind of compare that to now, and I'm just like, what's wrong with me? I don't even really, I do compare myself to other people in some aspects, but a lot of my comparison is to me in the past. And I'll be like, oh, David, you were so peaceful and calm and regulated, and now you feel stressed and anxious and waking up in the middle of the night thinking about work and money and children and stuff like that. Where the fuck do I start with the work that I need to do? Like, I'll try and meditate. Let's try and meditate. That's been a really stabilizing thing for me for about 8 years. I like to meditate in the morning. So maybe I can only find like 4 mornings a week to do that because, you know, little boy gets in the bed and kicks me in the head. It's a little bit like I know where I want to be and how I want to feel, and I do know the tools to get there, but I feel stretched in actually the deployment of them. Like I don't have the space and time that I once had to like have an hour in the morning, and I find myself feeling really frustrated both at myself and then also at my life. And then I start to question my decisions. Did I choose this? Did I choose that? Why did I make that choice? Do I regret that choice? And that sets one down quite a negative path sometimes mentally. And I'm also then catching myself doing that. And I'm like, wow, you know what to do to get off this path. Like, you know, get journal out, start writing. But it's almost like there's a part of me that just doesn't want to because I don't choose to. I don't pick up the journal. I don't start typing. I don't call a friend. I just sit in it, or I work a lot. And it's a very interesting space to be in. And I was listening to a podcast today and it talked about Negredo, which isn't the first time I've heard the phrase, like the blackening, like the death. And it kind of touched a nerve. I was like, what is dying in me now in these moments of this part of my life? And I haven't found an answer yet. And I guess I'm working on like, how do I figure this all out? How do I figure this life thing out? I feel like I got life reasonably well, not really, really well. And then my snow globe's been shaken and I'm a bit like, looking around at all the pieces. I know exactly what I need to do to feel the depth of sadness that I feel in my heart, but I haven't managed to find 10 minutes to do it for about a month. Yeah, where did it all go? You know, sometimes I wonder to myself, like, obviously it's not gone, but I think of that question. Where did it all go? The stability. And it's all super understandable when you explain to somebody. They're like, oh, you had a child, that's how, you know, that's okay. But I also think there's a part of me that's super critical and harsh on myself, like, I should be better, what's wrong with you? Feels like my inner critic that has a tinge of my dad's voice in it. And even to a certain degree, a little tinge of my mum's voice. You can be kindly critical, but if you really listen to her, it can feel quite harsh. But in these times of feeling tired, feeling stressed, that voice becomes quite loud, quite aggressive. Yeah, it knocks me off center. Where's my grounding now in this new life of tectonic plates that will keep shifting over these years? You know, child changes, different routines. Me and my partner sleeping in separate bedrooms so that we can actually sleep. So even that piece you're talking about, touch, like really realizing like, oh man, like we used to touch each other and hold each other in bed, and that's like kind of disappeared. And again, I'm in that critical of like, oh, you know better. This is what you teach people. Why are you not teaching yourself? I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I heard a fair bit of talking about the past and the future. How present would you say that you are?
Very little. Like when we did that exercise with the breathing there, 4, 7, 8, there's like a part of my shoulders that like dropped even at the back onto this chair, and I was like, I used to do that every night, you know, and my mind was struggling to stay with the exercise, you know.
I find it really funny how people used to speak about, or I obviously wasn't there, but back in the day, I felt like when someone was having a child, it was just like this blessing, right? And this pressure that you feel to, am I providing enough? Have we got enough money? This, how much do you think that's yours, and how much do you think that's cultural pressure?
Yeah, I don't believe men are biologically programmed to provide. I believe more and more it's a cultural lens that feels like it's biological just because it's everywhere, but it's still deep in there.
I have 2 little brothers. I found it really triggering dealing with my first younger brother because even though I'm like aware of stuff, done therapy, it was reminding me of when I was little. Is that something that comes into your mind too?
Yeah, I think there's aspects of the childhood that I had. I really don't want him to have some of those experiences. Me and my partner have talked a lot about what we want his upbringing to be like and what experiences we don't want him to have that we experienced. And I guess what I'm experiencing to some degree is the fear of that some of those things are going to happen to him, and there's like a guilt for bringing him into the world when that's potentially going to happen, because that feels really irresponsible.
If you fast forward 20 odd years and he's in a coffee shop speaking to a friend about his experience of you as a dad, what do you want him to say?
Oh man, what do I want him to say? Not just my dad was there, he taught me stuff, he showed me stuff, he connected with me, he was curious about who I was, but also supported me in what I was interested in wanting to do. Basically a list of things my dad didn't do. So I've been really consciously thinking of like, who do I want to be as a father?
Obviously he's really young, but do you feel like what you're doing now, he would say some of those things based on the way you're showing up now?
I think sometimes I'm short with him. I said it to my partner the other day, I was like, I have so much more understanding now when my dad was grumpy all the time. Because I'm like, I didn't know the weight of life that he was carrying that was beyond what I can understand as an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old. I have an increased compassion understanding for my dad. There's something in my mind that's like, am I doing the thing that I felt was done to me? But I'm also really mindful. There's something that my partner pointed out to me. She was like, you know, the other day you almost lost your shit, but you saw it coming and you just left the room and you went into the office and you closed the door and you stayed in there for about 20 minutes. I wasn't alone with him. And then you came out. And she's like, I don't know what you did in that 20 minutes, but you took responsibility instead of, you know, pointing what was there. I was like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I do that.
Your partner said that?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
She sees you.
Yeah. She's great like that. Yeah.
Have you told your father about how you feel about him?
Not in the last kind of 10 or 15 years. I did unload a load of stuff at him when I was about 24, 25 off the back of going on a program type thing. He apologized for a bunch of stuff that day. But it didn't really sink in with him. Mm-hmm. And I kind of was like, okay, it made a lot of peace for me in our relationship. And seeing this, like, this is who he is, not because of his, like a conscious choice to be this person, but his upbringing has formed him in ways that, you know, he would have never chose. So I kind of just accept him as he is now, and also allow him to be a grandfather as well. That's been something that I've kind of chosen.
When Bjorn is 18 and the cake is baked proverbially, what percentage of the ingredients do you think you'll be as dad?
A lot. I'd like to have a good influence on his life.
What percentage of you as a cake is your dad?
It's like I've become the cake I am now in opposition to him, to seeing the life that he created for himself and deciding how much of that life I didn't want.
Post-traumatic growth, my friend calls it.
Yeah.
And the compassion bit's so cool because we are all a product of our experiences, including our parents.
Yeah.
Just to chuck in though, I've got 2 boys, 21, 22, and I think I'm probably no more than 5% of the cake. People at your stage of parenting would always hope that you're at least 50. I just don't know whether actually that becomes the reality. That's subjective. It's not for anyone to tell anyone.
Got it. Thank you.
A lot of what David said really resonated with me. People always talk about, you find your why and your purpose, and you know, I feel like I'm on the right track with that stuff. But this sounds a bit abstract, but I'm trying to figure out, like, why is it my why? My dad wasn't around at all when I was a kid. You know, he was a really absent father. He was a guy that lived with a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. I would sort of call him the only source, the core source of all of my trauma and, you know, my ability to build relationships with men in particular. It's the reason why I find coming into these sort of environments so intimidating. It's the reason why, you know, I'd always rebel and feel incredibly angry as a teenager, particularly against male teachers, and then when I got into the workplace, just rebelling against every single boss I had who was male. I really do understand my relationship with my father now, and like the last time I saw him, I was 14, it was, you know, a long time ago. The way that I lived my life in my teens and my 20s and even my 30s to an extent was incredibly selfish, and it had this huge impact on, yeah, my romantic relationships in particular. And I mean, it's, you know, basic bitch like attachment theory, but I was just so avoidant, like, and I just could not build relationships with people. And you know, my dad died 2 summers ago, and that coincided that summer with me being on a TV show as well. It was a really mental summer. His sister reached out to me and my brother 6 months before that happened, but 6 months before he died, and said, look, your dad's shown a desire to see you before he passes away. And my initial reaction was obviously like, fuck you, absolutely not. Why do you get to call the shots? I've tried to get in touch with you multiple times over the years and you've always pushed me away. And then I sort of slept on it, and I was like, I know that's not the right thing to do. I know the right thing to do is to try and show forgiveness or try and understand him, because I know in my heart, like, that's all I really wanted to do, was try and understand him, and he never really gave me that opportunity. And so we agreed to it. We agreed to go and see him, and we organised a sort of meet up in a few weeks' time. It was me, my little brother, and my two little half sisters, and we hired a car and went to drive up there. And halfway through driving up there, we got a call from his sister, and she said, he's not actually up for seeing you today, he's not feeling great. So we had to turn around. Then I flew to Bali because I'm so fucking avoidant, and went and did a lot of Jordan stuff and swam naked in the sea and danced and had a great time. And the day that I flew back home from Bali, I got back to the country and I got a call from his sister saying that he'd passed away. And again, it was this conflicting moment where I was like, well, what am I meant to do here? How am I meant to feel? And she was like, yeah, he's having a funeral. Do you want to come to the funeral? And I said, yeah, I think I do. You know, I knew that moment would mean closure to me and sort of get rid of all those narratives that I'd created, all these myths, like stories that I'd created about him. One part of me was like, yeah, he's this sort of Jack the Lad, fun sort of guy that goes around shagging women and just having a great time. And I saw a lot of myself in that. And then another part of me was, you know, he's a terrible parent and he's not able to be there for me, and there's a lot of hatred and anger there, and I just wanted to try and sort of figure out if I could sort of let go of those narratives that I created. And I went to his funeral, and it was me, my little brother and my two little sisters and his sister at his funeral. We had 5 people at his funeral. And it was obviously a very cathartic moment, you know, because they played this video, and it was showing sort of photos of him like as a teenager and then as a young man, and I saw so much of myself in him. I could just tell, like, without even hearing him speak, that there was so much of me in him, or so much of him in me, and that moment was like the moment where my life went in a completely different direction, you know, like, however you called it, Jordan, like positive trauma, I guess is how I'd describe it. The reason I'm telling all of that is because, like, my life since then, it's been about 2 years, and you know, now, like, I'm in a position where I have started to get better at building relationships with men, and I mean, I run a community for men now. I have a podcast, you know, which talks about all that sort of stuff, and you know, I genuinely have real friendships with men now. But it's not this like fucking redemption arc that it sounds like it is. It's not. Or I'm worried that it's not. My worry is that it's always going to be selfish. The things that you do in life, they're always going to be selfish, right? Like, and I wanted to do that for myself. It feels really good, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing it to just say fuck you to him, rather than it coming from a place of like benevolence or wanting to give back or create value or like have a role in society. And him dying, this fear hit me that I was like, I don't want to have 5 people at my funeral, you know? Part of my brain's been like, well, create something, create a big mass of people that love you, that like look up to you, because that will allay that fear. I'm so conflicted at the moment, because on one hand it's like, it's an amazing opportunity, an amazing responsibility to sort of have this pastoral care over these guys, and it feels so good, and I see these moments of connection, but I don't know whether I'm doing that for them or me, like, and if it's me, then like I don't know how sustainable that is. I'm doing all of these things, like amazing things are happening, and I feel so busy. I know that that's just part of this journey, and that's cool, but it's not going to be sustainable if I'm not doing it for the right reasons. And I'm so aware of that. Like I had a call from, and this was a good realisation, like a call yesterday from an organisation that looks after learning and development for apprentices, 16-year-old kids basically. And they were like, can you come and speak to these kids? And all the work that I've done historically, all the fucking social media bollocks that I put out, a podcast, whatever, like, it's cool, but this was the one thing where, like, I got off this call and I cried my eyes out, like, because I was like, that's me seeing that teen version of myself and seeing that photo of my dad at his funeral at 16 and thinking, like, oh, I can actually do something about that now. And I would love my life to be like those things. I would love it to not be social media. I would love it to not be podcasts. I would just love it to be about, like, reaching those people. But to your point, like, I'm also stuck because that's not necessarily what success is. And that, like I say, are those kids going to come to my funeral? I don't know, like, yeah, I'll probably leave it there.
Why can't there be both things? Why can't you be of service and also to yourself?
Yeah, I think I could. It's 2 months ago, I was like working in a PR agency, living this like sort of corporate dream, harsh reality, conflicted life, and doing all this shit which other people think was cool, and I just knew felt so horrible to me. So much of this is so new, and it's really, really hard. And the thing that I'm trying to figure out at the moment is, like, you know, there's those two sort of lanes. And I would like to think that I'll get to a point where I can do both of those things. But I mean, even things like money is a worry at the moment, because the things that I don't enjoy doing are the things that pay the bills, and the things I do enjoy doing don't.
That's life, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
fucking
how the
life,
system
man.
works.
It was really interesting to hear you say that you aren't sure if you're doing it for them or for you, but this really, I guess, cathartic reaction you had to getting off this phone call to be offered this opportunity because you feel like you can make a difference to these guys' life. I feel like from listening speaks volumes actually to your question. Sounds like, as a listener, you know more what serves you than you're letting yourself contextualize that serves you, maybe?
Yeah. Like the idea of, I don't know, communicating, interacting with a group of 16-year-olds that probably have very similar challenges to what I had at that age is incredible. They have worse challenges than what I had, because I mean, the world for a 16-year-old right now is so much harder, I believe, than what it was 25 years ago. But again, I don't know if that's because I want to help them or is because I see myself in them and I wanted to be helped. Does that make sense?
It does. Could it be both?
Yeah.
After you got off that call and you cried, what were you feeling as you cried?
It wasn't sadness, it was
Alignment,
acknowledgement. That's what it felt like. It felt like it was the acknowledgement that my dad never gave me, you know.
Does any part of you heal with each person that you help?
Yeah, I mean, it's the bit that feels incredible, and the bit that, like, I cried in the tube on the way home from one of our walks the other day was when I see it's not necessarily about how I interact with them, it's how they interact with each other. Because they're all seeing the same or feeling the same shit that I was, and some of these guys turn up and they're so anxious and nervous about being accepted by that tribe, and then because we've created this environment, like, they're different men at the end of it. That's a really nice feeling, you know.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you all for being so honest, for showing up, for bringing so much of yourselves and sharing it and choosing to be brave. Men's circles are a practice. They require showing up over and over again. You don't just come away and you've solved it. We've all got this work to do and it's ongoing.
Yeah, I don't do this regularly. And if I was to do it regularly...
You feel much better.
Really? But I'm like, is there enough depth if you're doing it every single week? Like, you're just talking about, like, peanut butter's my favourite spread. Do you know what I mean?
Is there enough depth?
Like, but my point...
Bottomless well.
Also because you have everything that happened that week to then unpack. It's not like from this to the next one, nothing happens in life.
So like, all of our shares were very, very deep, and they weren't just like, this is happening to me right now, you know? Do you run out of things to talk about?
No,
I don't think you
I've
do.
never.
I barely scratched the surface at once. 10 minutes felt really scary when you first said that.
Yeah.
It's like,
We're gonna close by sharing something we're taking with us. Might be something we've learned about ourselves, something we've learned through listening. Could just be a feeling that we're walking away with.
I think that sort of negative self-talk and that idea that it's not a good thing to be selfish is probably something that I need to work on a little bit.
I think I'll be thinking about fatherhood. I think about it all the time anyway, but just, you know, more stories, more things to consider.
I think this about asking for help. That's what comes to me.
I guess the reminder more than a lesson that we're all a product of our experiences, and this compassion piece, particularly what you said you felt about your dad. How often I hear people's stories, myself included, and we can condemn people, which is allowed, but also then forgetting that they are just the way they are because of their experiences, and it goes on and on and on and on. And I think that kind of leveler for me of compassion is really healing.
Tough though.
Yeah. One thing I definitely heard more than once from several of us is almost like a criticism of being what we are for the reasons why we're there at any one point, an acceptance of the journey.
Just to build on that too, I think as a uniting energy, I think it's what's cool is that even if it's painful, I feel like all of us are breaking the expectation from like specifically our environment, whatever stories have been told about what we should do or where we should be. And I think that's really good, even though it's stressful, you know, whether it's being of service or finding out how to be alone. Like these are all things that I were told not to be, so I think it's kind of cool.
I just want to thank you all for
Thank you.
Thank
showing
you.
up.
Thanks, Paz.
Thanks for holding us, mate.
It was nice. Same again next week.
Should we do it again now?